I want to welcome everyone, welcome our alumni, our faculty members, and our guests to the 2016 Macon County Alumni Association Banquet. Macon County High School has been part of this community, from what I understand, for over 80 years. And the Macon County High School Alumni Association has been around for 24 years. First, let me kind of tell you what the association does and why we're here. Every year, the Macon County High School Alumni Association, we present two $500 scholarships to graduating seniors. Our scholarship recipients are here with us today. Later during the program, I will introduce you to them. We would like to give away more scholarships, and if we can get the donations and the funding needed. By the way, these scholarships that we present, they are for college and technical school. So that's one thing that the Alumni Association, what we want to do is make sure that the students who graduate from Macon County High School continue their education, whether or not it will be in colleges or in technical school, because they're both very important, and both of them, they have a good future by participating in either one. Also, we do have the Alumni Association, and we do have some board of directors, and also we have some members, particularly our officers. I want to basically open the doors for anyone who's interested in being a member of the Macon County High School Association, Alumni Association, particularly anyone that might be interested in being on the board of directors. We are always looking for new ideals and ways that we can help benefit the alumni of Macon County High School. So I would, if you're interested in it, then please just give any one of us a call or meet us today during or after the banquet, and we'll make arrangements that you can help the Macon County High School Alumni Association. Well, I want to say that we got a very good crowd today. It's really good to see everyone here. We've got a lot of classes here, and if you look at our program, we've got a lot to go over. We're going to basically recognize some teachers. We're going to recognize some past classes. We're going to introduce our current officers and also the board directors of the Macon County High School Alumni Association, and also meet our two scholarship recipients. But the main thing you're here for, too, is to reminisce, talk about the good old days, the days when you were at Macon County High School. I know, this is probably what, the third high school. We've had this high school, we've had the junior high, and of course we had the old high school. And I know all of us have a lot of memories, and it's always good to meet our fellow classmates and reminisce about all the things that we did while we were at Macon County High. Also, as I say, we got a great speaker here going to be with us today, and all of us are looking forward to listening to him. And also, too, we have some past Macon County High School Tiger football players here. And there's someone in this audience that I really want to recognize. I guess he is I always heard him called the voice of the Tigers, Mr. Wardine Perdue. Wardine, it is very nice to see you. And being a mayor of Lafayette, it's good to meet the mayor of Rocky Mountain. Now, of course, first thing we're going to do, we're going to have a meal. This is, we look like we got a good meal prepared. And what we would like to do is when we start, we will just pretty much start with the teacher's table and just pretty much work from the class 40 on down to the end. I know Jerry Wilmore told me he was hungry, so I'm going to do my best to let Jerry go last. But so if you would, when we get ready to eat, if you would just line up and just help yourself to the buffet. Also, I'd like to call upon Mr. Carol Barton to lead us in prayer before we eat. So, Carol.
Father, we're thankful to see this gathering here tonight, and we ask your blessing upon us. We're thankful for all your God-given rights that we still have, a peaceful assembly, the right to meet and worship according to our dictates of our consciences. We appreciate those rights. We appreciate everything, Father, that you do for us, and we ask your blessing upon us as we eat this meal that we're about to receive. We pray that you bless it to the sure nourishment of our bodies and our bodies to thy service. In Jesus' name we pray and ask it all. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Carol. So now we're officially open for meals. If you would, just please help yourself and go to the buffet. Of course, we're going to let the head table eat first. I know. But basically, this will give us time to get our program ready after we eat. So if you would, the head table will eat first, and then just start with the teachers and proceed through the line. Thank you. I hope everyone has enjoyed the meal. Very good, wasn't it? Let's all give a round of applause for Linda's Cakes and Catering. Thank you, Linda. Next on the program, those of you who have the program in front of you, we have the recognition of teachers. Of course, we do have a teacher's table, and I'd like to recognize those past teachers, those retired teachers, I guess, who is here with us. We have Miss Marion Cassidy, Miss Margaret Cook, Miss Felina Blankenship. She's down here. Yes, she's right here. Yeah, yes, that's right. She's sitting with us. So, hey. Mr. Mike Tatum. Miss Tatum, good to see you. And also Miss Maisel Draper. Maisel, good to see you. Of course, every year during the banquet, we honor certain classes of Macon County High School. This year is no exception. We're recognizing all of the classes of 1940s, the classes of 1950s, the class of 1961, the class of 1966, the class of 1971, the class of 1976, the class of 1981, and the class of 1986. So let's give everyone applause for these classes. Now, I got this envelope from the class of 1976. So they told me to open it up here. So I'm going to do that. So alumni, there's a $100 bill in here. And the card says, the 1976 Macon County High School class would like to donate this $100 to the Alumni Association in memory of our deceased classmates. Yes. Listen to this. We challenge all other classes to do the same. So the pressure's been put on us, hasn't it? So, but thank you, class of 76. Thank you so much. And like I said, this money is used for the scholarships that we present. And if we can get enough of these, we can present more scholarships. So thank you. And I hope next year at the Alumni Association banquet, we have some more of these envelopes with $100 bills in it. So. And also, if anybody else wants to donate, you don't have to donate $100, but if you want to donate any amount of money, the Alumni Association would appreciate it. Thank you. I'm going to give this to Brenda so you can all verify that. Okay. Take a picture of this, Barry, so we'll make sure. Next, I want to introduce the officers of the Macon County High School Alumni Association. Of course, those of you who may not know me, I am Richard Driver. I am the president of the Macon County High School Association. To my left is Miss Brenda Hyatt. She is the secretary. Debbie Mason, where are you? Okay, yeah, Debbie Mason. She is the treasurer. So those are the officers of the Macon County High School Alumni Association. Now let me introduce you to the board members of the Macon County High School Alumni Association. If you would, if you want to stand or raise your hand, I'll let you decide on that. If those of you want to stand, they are Melvin Pettigo, Georgia Ann Bowles, Sina Lancaster, Sarah Roark, Rayburn King, Elaine Tatum, and Kathy Thompson. So let's give our board of directors a round of applause. And like I said at the very first of the program, if you're interested in becoming involved in the Macon County High School Alumni Association, we would welcome you to join us. Of course, there's no dues, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you're interested in being a member of the board of directors or attending our meetings, just please give Brenda or Debbie or one of the board members your name and address, and we will give you the information you need. We usually meet from January to May of each year as we start preparing this banquet. Also, we'll meet in July or August so we can discuss how the banquet went and make changes. Of course, also, too, I noticed that you probably know we're at a different venue this year than we were last year. Last year we was at the sports hall, I guess is what that was, what it's called. We tried that, and we decided to move the banquet back to the Macon County High School cafeteria. I hope that you enjoy yourself here, and if you got any suggestions or recommendations, please let us know. That's what we're here to do, is to listen to what the members of the Macon County High School Alumni Association have to say and make the necessary changes so that we'd like for you to come back. Matter of fact, we'd like for more alumni to attend the banquet. So again, like I said, welcome, and we'll move on with our program. Next is a person that I know many people are waiting to hear from. Every year, the Macon County High School Association, we have a speaker. Usually, the board pretty much sits back. We look and decide who we want to speak before the alumni during the alumni banquet. Usually, that person is a fellow alumni or is a past faculty member. During the past few years, we've had some excellent speakers, and this year is no exception. Now, I'm going to be able to sit down because I have this special guy who's going to announce our guest speaker. This gentleman on my left, Mr. Dwayne Cothran. He's going to sit there and introduce our speaker. He is a person that many of us know and remember and respect. And it's been a pleasure talking to him. In case you probably might have just woke up. Of course, I know, you might have ate and taken a nap, but our guest speaker is Coach Dean Fisher. And so what I'd like to do is, Dwayne, I'll turn the podium over to you.
Mr. President, Madam Secretary, Madam Treasurer, honoring class of Macon County High School, the rest of the Macon County High School alumni, officers, board of directors, honored guests, thank you for this honor. And that's for Miss Cassidy, because as we were lining up to eat back there, I think Richard told her, said, well, Dwayne's going to introduce Coach Fisher. She leans over at Miss Cook and says, this ought to be good. She had me in English, so anyway. So I did remember a few things, but then I'll have to say I was pretty nervous when Brenda asked me to introduce Coach Fisher, and trying to think of things to say, and I'm just, the more I thought about it, the more nervous I got. And then I got the program, and I got to looking at all the classes that were going to be here tonight, and I thought, well, it ain't going to matter. By the time they get to the car, they're going to forget it anyway. So So, uh,
Thanks for waiting.
yeah. Yeah. And then we got ready to go, and my wife asked me, she said, well, are you going to wear a suit? And I said, yeah, I probably will. She said, well, that means I need to dress up too. And I said, yeah, you probably need to dress up. I said, think of it this way, you may get hit on some old men tonight. She looked at me and she said, well, I won't be as old as the one I married. So she put me in my place. Well, as Richard said, I'm Dwayne Cothran, and I'm one of many of Coach Fisher's players. He might not want to admit that I was actually a player, but I was there, put on a uniform. And Dad, my father, was one of his assistants for many years. And Coach Fisher, he did have a philosophy of discipline and wanted all of us to be team players. And something has bothered me now for I don't know how many years, and I'm going to confess to it tonight. Coach Fisher, I saw Harry flipping smoking one time, and I never did tell you. So I've got that off my chest. There are a few stories, too, I remember. I remember one hot August day in practice, and I think we were getting ready for the Civitan Bowl, I think, playing at Lebanon. And a lot of these guys were cutting tobacco, a lot of the second and third stringers, and we barely had enough to practice, and Coach Fisher was going over the offense of our opposing team, and he was getting pretty frustrated because the first team was there, and the rest of the offense that he had scraped up were, I even think our manager, Lanny Hudson, might have been a back, but we would hand the ball off, and immediately they'd get tackled. The defense wasn't having a chance to look at anything the offense was doing. He was getting frustrated, and I'm not sure who said it, but you could see he was getting frustrated, and one of the players on the other side, well, Coach, you put on a helmet. Let's go live with you. Coach Fisher said, all right. He got a helmet for somebody, put it on, got up there, and you could see Flippin and Harper and Terry was one of them too. All of them started easing in right up there, right close to him. Snapped the ball, and Coach Fisher took off, maybe got 2 yards. And I bet there was 20 people hitting him. I don't know where they came from, but they all just hit him at once. And he got up, and his helmet was sideways. He broke his watch. His hand was bleeding. And Harry, I mentioned, said he mumbled something, well, I don't think that was a very good idea. So one of the many times. And also, I mentioned this another time, some of y'all may have heard it. Coach Fisher would try to do anything he could to motivate us. And so we had a period there where he started making nicknames for people to make them, tough. The tougher the nickname, the more they wanted to play. And anyway, we had one guy called Bullwhip, Mike McClard. And Bullwhip, that sounds tough, real tough. And then we had another guy we called Mulebone. Terry Hoskins called him, what's tougher than a mule bone? That's tough. So, I got my own nickname. So you can imagine when we were playing on a team out, whoever we played for, and the players would look off and see me getting ready to come on the field and say, boy, y'all have had it now. Here comes Mouse. So I always wondered what was up with that, But now on a serious note, I remember being a player for Coach Fisher, and some of the things I remember about Coach Fisher was he was a man of integrity. God was always first, family, and then team. And he preached that and he lived it. He passed that on to us. We always remembered that. We were always, as a team, he would invite us to his church. He never pushed his beliefs on us, but he always wanted us to know his belief in God and his religion. And many times we would take the whole team. He would line this up, organize it, raise money. And I remember I think it was my junior year, we went and saw Bill Glass, who was an ex-NFL football player and a Christian speaker. And he took a busload, and he drove to Madison to hear him speak. And he also raised money one year, my senior year, and sent 5 of us to the Fellowship of Christian Athletes camp out in Estes Park, Colorado. And that was a very moving experience for us 5. It had a great impact on our life. He was also introduced to Fellowship of Christian Athletes to Macon County High School. He started that, he organized it, started it, and it still goes on today. Well, Coach Fisher was the organizer of that. And as a motivator, I remember many times seeing all these sports quotes and up on the wall from Vince Lombardi and so many different coaches, and not only coaches, but anybody that he felt would motivate us if it was something that was worth putting on the board. He put it up there and we read it. We would hear all these fight songs while we were dressing for practice, after practice, before games. I never got so tired of Notre Dame's fight song in my life, but we, over and over again, we played that. But it was motivating. It got you ready. And I also remember on those hot August practice, a big motivator was I think it was my sophomore or junior year, I can't remember now which one, but it was hot, and we were practicing, and we thought, how long is this practice going to go? Because Dad and Coach Fisher both were very, very extreme on wanting it done perfect. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Over and over and over again. Well, this is one of those hot days, and we thought practice seemed like it was 6 hours long. I don't remember. And he was kind of upset with the offense for something. So we put the first string offense. He held up a football, set it on the 10-yard line, lined up. Pretty good defense. It wasn't the first string, but he got decent defense lined up, the ones he thought could do it. And he said, now, guys, I got something for you. And about that time, the managers brought in the coldest-looking orange juice in these big aluminum. You could see the sweat rolling off of these big aluminum pots. Put it in the end of the end zone. He said, now, offense, you got 4 plays to score. If you do, you have a feast of all that cold, cold orange juice you want. Defense, if you hold them and you stop them, you get it. And we had a fight. And believe it or not, the second team, and I'm not so sure we didn't take the ball away from them after they was tackled, but they caused a fumble and we recovered it, and we got the orange juice. And then the first string made us suffer for it the rest of the week. But anyway, I could go on and on about Coach Fisher. I do want to say this. Like I said, my father was an assistant with Coach Fisher for many years. Coach Fisher is what you call an optimist. He was always positive. He had confidence and built us up constantly. My dad, on the other side, was more of a pessimist, and I think they argued quite a bit. I can remember them arguing a lot, but they always would come together and work together, and I never heard my father in the whole time that I knew him say one bad word about Dean Fisher. And I remember when Coach Fisher left, he had mentioned to me several times, he said, well, I want to tell you this. He said, I'm very happy for Coach Fisher, but I'm kind of sad too because I'm losing one of my closest friends. And he said, Macon County High School in Lafayette, Tennessee is a lot better because Coach Fisher came to live here and teach here for the length of time that he did. And there is a Vince Lombardi saying that I feel like that amplifies Coach Fisher, and it's this: football is a great deal like life in that it teaches that work, sacrifice, perseverance, competitive drive, selflessness, and respect for authority is the price that each and every one of us must pay to achieve any goal that is worthwhile. It is my honor to introduce Coach Dean Fisher.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, and I appreciate and enjoyed the meal. As Miles was talking, one of my highlights after coaching, or while I was still coaching, I was at MTSU, and we were playing Western Kentucky. It was a week up on Saturday at Bowling Green, and we played in Western, and I went on the field, and I saw all these red shirts, and they were managers. Dwayne had recruited about, I don't know how many managers from Lafayette from Macon County High School, and the whole field was covered with managers. And I thought, well, that's a great attribute. Jimmy Fikes, the coach, has trusted Dwayne to supply all his managers, and there they were, just, oh, and I was proud. That made me proud. Okay, I thought I would say just a word about a little bit of a history. Where did I come from? How did I get here? And I'll go back. I was a rural White County, Sparta, Tennessee farm boy. Raised on a farm like many around here, dairy farm. We raised a little tobacco, but it was humble surroundings. And I played football in Macon, at White County High School, Sparta, Tennessee. In my senior year, we had a really, really good football team. 3 of the backfield signed with the University of Tennessee. We had a tailback was all world. And people from all over Middle Tennessee would come to White County to see this team play. We were undefeated. And one of the participants that came to White County to watch Sparta play was a fellow named Doyle Gaines. Doyle, this was in '54, the fall of '54. I don't know how many games he saw us play. I never did meet Doyle. I never knew him, but he had some kind of connection to that team that he put in the back of his mind. And then about 4 years, or 7, 8, 9 years later, one day, and we were living in Lenore City, Tennessee. I was coaching football there. Loudoun County, it's in East Tennessee. Well, one day, this was spring of '73, Doyle Gaines, Jackie Eller, Goosey Gann, and I think Ben Holder showed up in Lenore City, and they wanted to talk. And Doyle said that you needed a football coach, you needed a head football coach. You were without one, and they were looking for one, and they were wondering if I would be interested in coming to Macon County. Of course, I was. So we talked. They left. This was, let's see, the spring of '63, 54 years ago. So they left, and then we came to visit Lafayette. I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks later, and we talked, and we got together, and I met Ronnie Carr and Bill Carr and Jimmy Glover and some of the other football players, and I was impressed, especially when I shook hands with Jimmy Glover. I pretty much decided I wanted to come here when I shook hands with Jimmy. So we had good-looking players, and but see, I'd never coached. I'd never been a head coach, so they're taking a chance on a green nobody. I had no reputation as a coach or anything like that. And football is really stressed, and it's really important here. So it was humbling to me to be coming here as a coach. And I was kind of scared. But anyway, I came in the spring, and we had 5 or 6 days of spring practice. And I remember filling a Volkswagen full of blocking dummies, and so we had a few days of practice. But I was impressed with I was impressed with Gary Wright. There's a lot of people I was impressed with, and I thought maybe we can put together a pretty good team here. We're seniors. Glover and Gordon Gammons and the Carrs and all of them are seniors, so I think we can put together a pretty good team. But we've got a problem coming up soon. Lebanon High School, we're opening up. And we're having a little flack in the community. Some people didn't necessarily want me to be here as coach. He doesn't have any experience. You know, what's his track record like? They didn't want me here. So anyway, we start preparing as best we can for Lebanon. Macon County has never beaten Lebanon before, never. And we got a chore ahead of us Friday night opening game. So we prepare as best we can, and the stands are full at the stadium. How's this new coach going to do, and all this sort of thing. So we go out, we prepare pretty good, I think. But again, you got a new coach. He's never coached a game before as a head coach. So we ready as best we can. And then the Friday night, Lebanon comes up. We play Lebanon. We beat Lebanon pretty good. I don't know what the score was. Jimmy probably remembers. But it was, 2 or 3 touchdowns, I think, best I remember. So that was one little highlight. And what I thought I'd do is just kind of highlight through the 60s, things that had impressed me most or that stood out as I was thinking about all of this. As I was thinking, every time I'd try to draw on an idea about what I should talk about, there's a certain word kept coming to my mind. Every time I'd try to form an idea, there was a word that would come to my mind, and we'll talk about it a little bit, and it was humility. Humility. It kept coming. So we'll talk a little about a couple of humble meetings we had. Okay, so that was one highlight. Jimmy Glover going to UT is another highlight of the 63 season. As I was talking to Jim a minute ago, that's a big deal for a small town to send an athlete to the SEC. That's a pretty big deal. And Jimmy handled it well. And that was big for this town. Every person in this county was following what was happening to Jimmy Glover going to UT. And then another highlight. There was a lot of highlights, but I'm just picking 2 or 3. It was in the 60s, 65, I believe it was, 60 or 66, I guess 65, 66 school year. We had a pretty good season. I think we won 8 or maybe 9 games, I don't know. This is a team that Jimmy Wheely's on, and Gary Wright, Larry Walker was a quarterback. Jimmy Griggs was a wing back. We'd gone to the wing T by then. So we had won, I believe, 8 games, maybe 9, I don't know. So we signed to play Sparta, White County, my old hometown, in the Civic Bowl in Cookeville, Tennessee, on Tennessee Tech Field. It so happened we finished early that season, and Sparta still had another game to play. They were going to play Lebanon the following week on the Friday night, and Lebanon was ranked number 1 in the state. And Sparta had a team, well, I remember, a big old AG boy, 6'8", 260, 70. Farley boy, about 6'6", about 240, probably 230, 240. And I believe he went on and played the Miami Dolphins, Harry. So they had professional type football players, and we were little bitty. Barry Jenkins. How much did Barry Jenkins weigh? 130, 40 pounds? I'm not much bigger. And so we get on a bus, Macon County High School football team. We get on a bus and we go to Lebanon to watch Sparta play Lebanon, the team that we're going to play next week, Sparta. So we get there, and Sparta ran all over Lebanon. Now, I'm talking about, I don't know what the score was, but it was ran over, the number 1 team in the state. Now we're going to face Sparta. We were humbled. I mean, we were really humbled. And we came back and we prepared well. We had, I call it the perfect week, or near perfect week in our preparation. We got on a bus and Larry Walker was quarterbacking. We got on a bus at 9 o'clock in the morning to go to Cookeville. We stopped short of Cookeville. We had a pregame meal, and everything went perfect. We've had a perfect week of practice. We know we could get embarrassed bad by Sparta because they're that good, maybe the best team in the state. So the players were quiet, perfectly behaved. So we ride to Cookeville, we eat the pregame meal, we go over to Tennessee Tech to the football field early. We were real early. It was hot. This is a November day. And we all dress, and we're way early. And after the boys dressed, they came outside the dressing room and sat outside. So it was cooler outside under the shade trees. And there was a driveway coming right up by our dressing room. And we were out just cooling it and trying to kill some time. And then a bus came up this driveway. And we looked, everybody looked, their eyes turned to that bus, and on the side of the bus, Macon County High School, or Macon County bus. And then another bus, and another bus, and another. They just kept coming. I don't know, there's 10 or 15 buses came up a little driveway. And what are we thinking? They're behind us. Macon County is here. And I hope we don't embarrass them. And I think this was a working in the minds. Nobody saying anything, but they saw the support that was right there. And we thought, well, nobody can be left in Macon County. I don't believe there's another person in Macon County. They're all right here. And they're here to support us, and we appreciate it. And so, anyway, game time. It was hot. It was near perfect day. No, I don't think there's a cloud in the sky. We kick off. Bill McClard was our kicker. He looked like a professional, kicking all day long. Hit balls in the end zone, touchback. Everything was going perfect. And then Barry Jenkins, that big old boy, weighed 130 pounds. He slipped through the line, blocked the punt. We turned it into 7 points. A little while later, Barry Jenkins slipped through again, blocked another punt. Got another 7 points, 14 points off of 2 blocked punts by a little skinny boy against big professionals. So that was the kind of day we had all day long. Everything was, Jimmy Griggs was running the ball real well. Larry Walker he was so smart. We would go over the plays before the night we played, and Larry loved to outsmart the other team. And a lot of times I would call the play in, but sometimes I couldn't get the play in for some reason or another. But every time I would try to call a play in and didn't get it in, Larry would call the very play that I'd already called but never got it. So we were working on the same brain link. Okay, so that was another highlight that I call the perfect or near perfect week. Okay, another highlight, and we had a lot of them. Another one would be, it was the year, I believe Terry Hudson was a senior. And I cannot remember who all was on the team. But anyway, we asked the players to set goals. And they set their goals. They wrote them down. And their goals was undefeated, unscored on, a little unrealistic, I would think. But 5 games, we were unscored on, we were undefeated after 5 games. The 6th game, I think it was Smyrna, I'm not sure who we played, but they scored. And I believe the score wound up 6-6, tie. Our players went bam. I mean, they went down. I mean, they were inflated. And the next week, we were playing Gallatin. We'd go to Gallatin, Gallatin beats us. And you talk about a route going down. We were down and couldn't get up. We didn't know how to handle it. We were so down. and then the players were struggling to get up. So the next week we go to Lebanon. We play at Lebanon. And we were still down and we can't get up, and Lebanon is beating us pretty good. At the halftime, we come in the dressing room. We'd done nothing well all day, all night. I didn't know what to say to the players, you know. I can't beat them up anymore. They can't get any lower than they are, so I didn't say nothing while they were in the dressing room. So I entered the dressing room. I was going to say a word or two, I think, the best I remember. And when I went in, they were all on their knees. They were asking for help. That's humility. They were begging for help. And guess what? They got help. They came back a second half, and Harry flipping, they couldn't stop him, less than 10 yards. He'd get 8 or 10 or 12 yards, and we beat Lebanon. After we were down 2 or 3 touchdowns at the half, we beat Lebanon. So that was a highlight. A couple more highlights. We beat Springfield a couple times, and they were a powerhouse of the mid-state and the state. We beat them 2 years in a row, 6-0, on the same play. Same play each year. We beat Boy Smith and the great Springfield. They were highlights. Another highlight, I was teaching a class at Riverdale High School. I went from here to M.C.H.S, and from M.C.H.S to real estate for 8 years. And from real estate, I went to Riverdale High School, and I was there 18 years. Now I've been retired 20 years. So that's the gamut. So anyway, I was teaching the geography class at Riverdale High School. And I had Andrea in class. She was a freshman. I'd had her as a freshman. Now she's a senior. Fast forward 4 years. Andrea's in my class again as a senior. And she, one day, Coach, would you tell us the Joe Dickens story? I was amazed. She'd remember this 4 years. And she knew in detail the story that I had told about Joe Dickens. So I said, yes, I'll tell it again. So here's the Joe Dickens story. The old high school, this would have been what, 65? 66? I was walking down the hall one day, and a tall, slim boy came by, and he said, Coach, my name is Joe Dickens, and I'd like to get in a weight program, or all-season program, and I'd like to play football. Well, I didn't know anything about Joe, but I had seen Joe hanging out with a couple of boys that I knew were smokers. We had a designated smoking area, and I knew, but I didn't know where but I figured he smoked because he hung out with Wendell and the other boy I met a few minutes ago, or a little while ago. So I put Joe off. Joe, why don't you come back in a couple of weeks and we'll talk. So I'm thinking, if I put him off, he won't come back. You know, that'll be the end of it. So in a week or two, Joe came back, said, Coach, I'd like to play football. I want to get in the off-season program. And I put him off again. I still didn't know if Joe smoked. I still don't know if Joe smoked or not. I'll ask him in a minute. I don't think he ever smoked, but he was hanging out with boys that did. And so Joe came back. He comes back. This goes on. This is in the wintertime, between, I guess, the winter semester. So Joe comes back, and this goes on 2 or 3 different times, but he keeps coming back. And I kind of get impressed. Joe's not going to quit. He's going to keep coming. So I said, yes, Joe, and we let him in the program. All right, at that time, am I running out of time?
You're fine. Not at all.
Let's see. We're getting, with Joe Dickens.
We don't know it is.
Okay, I'll have to. Doyle Gaines made a great suggestion. It helped us out a lot. He said, why don't we start a group and just recruit players that's never played before. They've been kicked off the team for this or that or the other, or they quit, or they got too big and fat, or just some reason they're not there anymore. And we invite all of that bunch back. And we'll give you a uniform, and we'll kind of have a tryout. So we did that. And Joe Dickens was in that crowd, the tryout crowd. He'd never played. I don't know if Joe had ever seen a game before or not. So we had 25 students. Jimmy Whaley was one of them. Skip Massey was another. A lot of them came from, we call them the late bloomers. We took the late bloomers, Doyle Gaines took them in the parking lot between the stadium and the high school, and they scrimmaged. And they scrimmaged and they scrimmaged. But we hadn't been out there 30 minutes. Joe Dickens comes to the main field where I have the varsity and we're scrimmaging on the main field. And I asked Joe, why are you up here? He said, Coach Gaines sent me. Then I found out later, why did Coach Gaines send you? Well, Coach Gaines had a bunch over in that parking lot, and he was trying to scrimmage, and he couldn't scrimmage because Joe was tearing up everything they were trying to do. He was dismantling Coach Gaines' offense, and Coach Gaines wanted to get rid of him, go up there, Joe, go up there. So Joe, he came to the varsity, and I put Joe on the defensive side of the ball. And we had the first offense was running against the defense. And we couldn't run offense against Joe. He was disrupting everything we were trying to do. So anyway, Joe became the first teamer in 30 minutes. He hadn't been out 30 minutes. He was on the first team. And not only that, he started as a sophomore. He was a freshman at that time. He started as a sophomore. He started as a junior, he started as a senior, and we played him the same position that Jimmy Glover played at UT, Monster Man. We would send him where the trouble was, and he'd put out the fire. So he played Monster, and Jimmy Glover was playing Monster at UT. And I go, what do they have in common, Joe Dickens and Jimmy Glover? They playing the same thing. It goes back to Jimmy Glover's hand. They've got hands. They know how to use their hands. Joe Dickens was skilled with his hands. He could box. Never seen anybody could touch him. He was so skilled with his hands. And a good defensive player has good hands. So Flippin has good hands. He played linebacker at MTSU, started. So those are highlights. Joe Dickens was a highlight. Joe Dickens was a captain, junior and senior year. And if he'd have been a little bigger, he could have played any college. I think he had that kind of killer instinct or instincts that could have played college football. And another thing about Joe is as humble as a human being as I've ever seen. And I like humans that are humble. Joe was humble. I talked to him a few minutes ago. Joe was really humble. And this goes back to the humility thing that we talked about. What is humility? I looked in Webster dictionary, and here's what Webster said, if I can see it. Humility, the quality of being without pride. Voluntary self-abasement. That's what the dictionary says humility is. And my definition of humility is getting rid of self, overcoming self. Okay, another highlight of the 60s. This was November after the dream week, the perfect week almost. Chris Fisher was born, November 21st of 65. So 65 was a dream year, and a lot happened. And we had good football, and we've grown our family a little bit. Okay, other top stories, highlights. We go to Harriman. Harriman is good. This was the time of the Gary Purdue's, the Napiers. This is along toward 70, late 60s, I guess. At halftime, they're 2 or 3 touchdowns up on us. We're way behind at the halftime. We go to the dressing room at the halftime. We were called everything, bad names. They're fans. I mean, they called us. It was terrible, and we didn't respond. Well, we did respond. We went back the second half and beat them. So that's how we responded. That was the Gary Purdue and the Randy Napier, and that was a good group. All of them were good groups, but that was the Purdue could throw football. Keith Blue never missed the ball. I don't remember him ever dropping a pass, ever. And Purdue was a good passer. Excellent. And I told somebody, I'll go to Gary. Gary's here. I'd never seen a player have the adrenaline that he had. I mean, his adrenaline gland would, and he could become almost Superman because of his adrenaline. He was an adrenaline player. And so all of these are highlights. We've beaten Sparta now twice. They were highlights. And we had a lot of other bowl games and playoffs and all that were playoffs. And as I said, we had good coaches. We had good players. Doyle Gaines helped me at first, the first few years. And then Doyle Cothran came in. And Doyle was an old pro. And Doyle Gaines, they're icons. Your dad and Doyle Gaines are icons in Macon County. And Doyle Gaines was the reason, something in his head, he was the reason that I'm here, that I was here. He came after me, and apparently Mr. Hargis, the superintendent, had told Doyle, find us a coach. Find us a head coach. And Doyle knew who he wanted, and it was me, and I don't know why he wanted me. Okay, we've got through Lebanon, and one of the things we always did before a game, I don't know if it'd be allowed nowadays or not, we would say the Lord's Prayer. Every game. And maybe after the game, too. I don't remember about that. Did we, after the game?
I think we did.
After the game, too. And one of the greatest statements that's in the Lord's Prayer, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation. Thy will be done. That's humility, isn't it? When we say, I'm going to bend to your will. That's humility. Thy will be done. So it's all pretty much all in the Lord's Prayer. Thy will be. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. So we'd always say the Lord's Prayer. I don't know if it had that much meaning or not. Maybe I think it over. But there's a whole area that I've not talked about, and I won't. It was that FCA that you're talking about. It was a highlight. We became spiritual. I know I grew spiritually a lot, and I know the kids did. And we had the FCA club, and the student body wanted to be a part of the FCA. They tried to get in the FCA. I don't know if we let them or not, but they had a revolution, a little revolution going after they went to Colorado, not the University of Colorado, Colorado State at Estes, Colorado. Yeah. They came back. I mean, you never seen such fire. They were breathing fire. They were on fire, and they influenced everybody around them. Everybody in school was influenced, and Mouse, Dwayne, he was right in the middle of it all. And he needs to be speaking up here on that one thing one day, maybe not next year, but maybe the next, because he can spend an hour talking about the FCA and what we went through. Steve Robinson, Jimmy, you may have known him, who played guard at the UT. He helped us start the club. I don't know what year it was, 65, 64, 65, somewhere along in there. But that was big in this school and in our minds, and that probably needs to be talked about. But it'd take an hour to do it. Thy will be done, humility. And my greatest example of humility in the Bible is Joseph, one of my favorite characters. He was stripped of everything because his brothers hated him, his 10 brothers. They stripped him of his clothing. They threw him in a well, a pit, to die. First, they were going to kill him. Then one of the elder, Levi, or one of them, talked him out of it. So I said, we'll throw him in the pit. So they threw him in a well. Okay, the traders come by, and they rescue him from the well, or maybe they sell him to the traders. Joseph is stripped of everything. He didn't have one stitch of clothing. And he's on his way to Egypt, naked. Not one penny. No, zero, nothing. And he'd been a favorite kid of his daddy. Jacob really loved Joseph. But the 10 brothers hated him. They couldn't stand Joseph. He was supposed to be a braggart. And he was getting the power. He was getting the family inheritance. Joseph was. And he got the coat of many colors. That meant he's getting the power. He's going to be ruling the family. So the brothers hate him. So Joseph goes to Egypt. He's sold in Egypt for $30 silver dollars. In no time, Joseph is made head of the Potiphar's house. Then the Potiphar's wife takes a liking to Joseph. And Joseph runs, and she squeals, and he gets in prison for about 2 years. But everything Joseph does turns out great. Humility. Joseph is a sign of humility, but he's in charge of the potter's house. And when he's run out of there and put in jail, in the prison, he's put in charge of the prison. He was so positive. And then he interpreted the king or the Pharaoh's dreams, and the Pharaoh put him in charge of Egypt. So he's second in power to the Pharaoh. So Joseph had a way from overcoming nothing to become everything. So he was a good example, or one of the greatest examples of humility that I know of. Okay, I'm going to finish with this. You've heard it hundreds of times, you've read it hundreds of times. But another thought, one of the greatest things about the Macon County, their kids, the Napiers, the Flippins, the Glovers, humble people. They're not bragging and boasting and arrogant and rude. You know, the Macon County players, they were not that. That was not them. The ones that I experienced was respectful, hard-working. I mean, this is overall. This is the whole bunch. Hard-working, respectful. Some parents have done a good job, is what you can say for that. So they were humble. We had, how much time?
About 5 minutes or so.
5 minutes to go. 5 minutes to go. When I first came here, we would win quite often. We would win and would win, and then we'd get pridey. Our self would start swelling up a little bit. We would swell, and you know when the pride gets pretty heavy, there's going to be a downfall. That's just the way it is. It's going to happen. So we would win a game or two, and then we'd hit bottom. We'd lose the next, even if the next opponent was no good, we would lose. So I fought that, and the coaches would get the pride too. You know, if you won a big game you wasn't supposed to win, everybody in town's going to pat you on the back and tell you how good you are. You're so good, and after a while you start believing it a little bit, and the coaches believe it, and after a while you're full of pride. And if you're full of pride, you have no purpose, or you have no room for anything else but pride. So I'm worried about it. You know, we all get it. I mean, it's devious, pride is. I mean, it works its way in, and what can you do about it? Lose. You lose the next week. So I went to the bookstore, and I got a book with Vince Lombardi, and I got a Barry Bryant's book, and the Kramer's book, the Lombardi guard, played for Green Bay. And I got there, but I started reading, how can we overcome this self that's just killing us? Our self is, we're killing ourselves. And the book, this is later on, after Flippin and Glover and all of you. This is later on. I hadn't learned the lesson with then, but I learned the lesson was Vince Lombardi talks about grass drills. Jerry Kramer talks about grass drills. What are grass drills? They're up and downs. They're down and ups. They will humble you. They will get the self out of self. So we started doing that. We do 100 to 120, 30 grass drills. And what it is, just running in place, hitting the ground, get up, and do it over and over and over and over. And we started doing that. And I know after you do 50 or 60 of them, you're thinking, I'm dying. Self is dying. Self is gone. So we get rid of self through pain and hitting that old hard ground, and the weather is hot, and I'm thirsty, I'm about to die. I don't think I can do another grass drill, Coach. But 20, 30, 40, sometimes we do over 100. And after the grass drills, I'll guarantee you, we didn't have a pride problem. No more pride. We were ready to learn. They were ready to be coached. They were ready to win. And so we ended the pride problem through ups and downs. And that was Lombardi. I don't know if you remember Lombardi or not. Older people would. He's a legendary Green Bay Packer coach. So that about sums up what I've got to say. And I'll read this one little chapter by St. Paul that he wrote to the thriving community of Corinth. Best advice that anybody can get. And it goes beyond pride and humility and everything else. When pride and humility is gone, we got something that lasts here. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not, this is 1 Corinthians 13. And most of you know that. I am become as sounding brass or tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have faith that I could remove mountains and have not charity and not love, I'm nothing. And though I bestow my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not love, it profiteth me nothing. Where there be tongues, they shall cease. Where there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away with. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see through a glass, darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know, even as also I am known. And now abideth three things: faith, hope, love. And the greatest of these is love. Thank you, and I appreciate you letting me speak to you.
Coach, thank you. Thank you for all the words that you said. It's very heartwarming to have you back, and and as for you to talk about the experiences that you had as a coach at Macon County High School. I myself, I know many of us remember all those games that you talked about, and it does bring back a lot of memories. And thank you for being here. Also, I got this little token of appreciation I want to give you. Actually, just to thank you for being here and being our guest speaker. And Miles, thank you for your entertaining introduction. Thank you. That was very good, Miles. And I often wonder where that came from. Now, no. Also, since Coach Dean Fisher is here, I tell you what, let's do. Those alumni who played football under Dean Fisher, would you mind standing up so we can recognize you? If you could.
Could have to say your name.
You know, that's.
That would be good.
Thank you. You know, that's why Secret Secretary is sitting right here, right next to me to advise me. Yeah, if you would you please stand up again and state your name? Let us know who you are. Some of you, I know some I haven't seen in years, so it's. Hey, Flynn.
If I could stand up, I would. Jimmy. Okay. Tony Harper.
Josie. Steve Eller. Ronnie Johnson. Jimmy Glover. Bill Carter. Gary Purdue. Michael Smith.
Yes, let's give another round of applause. Oh, okay.
Larry Walker.
Larry Walker. And we have someone else?
Wilmore.
Jerry Wilmore, okay. Anyone else? Yeah, Dwayne. That's Mouse. Again, thank you. What I would like to do now is anything else? What I'd like to do now is to recognize the two recipients of the Macon County High School Alumni Association Scholarship. They're with us tonight. First is Miss Clara Elizabeth West. Clara, you mind standing up? Clara is planning on attending Volunteer State Community College and she is looking at majoring in secondary education. Thank you. Our next recipient is Tana Cole Lowhorn. Tana is going to attend UT Chattanooga, and he's looking at either entering the nursing profession or being a physical therapist. So thank you, and congratulations, both of you, on your scholarship award. Also, I was given this note to announce by Mr. Barry Hyatt from North Central Telephone Cooperative. He is with, he's the one doing the filming of this alumni banquet. He wants me to let you know that you can watch tonight's alumni banquet on North Central Television, channel 97, starting Monday night at 7 o'clock. Okay? It will air all week at the same time. And if you would like to purchase a DVD of tonight's banquet, contact Barry Hyatt with North Central Telephone Cooperative before you leave tonight. So thank you, Barry, for being here to put this on, to tape it for us. I do know that, I know many of you want to have pictures made, so we will, Coach would probably be willing to do that. Won't you, Coach, have some of the players make pictures with you? Thank you. Also, let me do a little plug for City Lafayette. Winding Stairs. I know many of you probably heard of it, and many of you know what we're doing with Winding Stairs. We do have some pamphlets here. Well, I got some pamphlets, and if you're interested in Winding Stairs, I would welcome you to pick one of these pamphlets up, and hopefully the next time we have the Alumni Association banquet next year, that we have some of the Winding Stairs Park open so that you can stop by and visit our park. So thank you. Anybody wants to make any questions or comments? I hope you enjoyed the banquet. Like I said, if you got any ideas or suggestions, please let us know. Again, thanks for Linda's catering for the food. And if we don't have any other business or discussion, I would like to adjourn the meeting. And like I said, after the meeting's over with, you can stay as long as you want, of course, and take pictures and reminisce about your days at Macon County High School. So thank you for being here, and we hope to see you again next year. Yes? Again?
Well, I was going to let Mary Lynn take that. We'll let Mary Lynn take that.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll let her.
Yeah, you let it. Yeah, we'll let Mary take the door. Yes, take the door. Okay. Anything else? Well, if not, like I said, I'm glad that you attended and look to see you back next year. Thank you.
When you were contacted about being the speaker for this gathering, what was your first reaction?
Well, I guess my first reaction was that it starts a lot of memories going. You start digging back into the past, and then one memory will bring on another memory, and then after a while you're consumed with memories of the past. So it's been quite a adventure in my mind the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Of course, you coached here in the 1960s and had some very, very good teams, one of the more successful coaches in this school's history. Is any particular season maybe stand out, or maybe any game maybe that stands out in your mind that when you go back and think about it?
That's what it was going to be in my speech here in a few minutes. I was going to highlight some of the things that stood out most in my mind, and yeah, there's several things that stand out. The team that played in Cookeville in the Civitan Bowl, that team stands out. Gary Wright and Jimmy Wheely, and they were all on it. Joe Dickens, and yeah, the first team that I coached with Jimmy Glover, that was a kind of a standout time too. And then we went to bowls and we went to playoffs and all of this. Yeah, several of the teams stand out.
And how enjoyable was your time here at Macon County High School?
It was blessed. It was a blessed time. We thought we probably had trials and tribulations at times, but we didn't, compared to times that it was a group of boys that were respectful. They were humble people, the players were, and they were hard workers. So it was a pleasure, really, the years that I was here.
Well, it's wonderful to see you tonight, and best of luck with the speech.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. So nice to meet you.